Welcome to the Yo Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going, Dan?
Going good, man. Back again, another week. April. We're into April now.
Just a second. I got a hotline call. Yeah.
Who is
it?
Yeah,
Mr. Chapek. Yeah. Mike Smith. Yeah, from O Brother. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I've been rethinking that whole thing. I'm thinking, 40. 40's good. 50? Yeah. Yeah, $3.99. That was too cheap. Yeah, double it. Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay, bye.
I'm sorry. He's just never going to let it go. What was that about? No, so it was Bob Chapek?
That was Mr. Bob Chapek calling.
Yeah.
And I had to take the call. Ms. Chapek.
Disney Plus? Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was about the deal, the premiere deal.
Right.
After we made a return to the movies this week,
That's right.
So I told him I'm all in on the $30. He wants to charge $50. I'm now in.
Knew you'd come around eventually.
That's all it took.
That's
One
right.
trip to the movies, I'm in.
That's right. So it's April 7th, 2021. And as you just said, after over a year in quarantine from the movie theaters, we both ventured out to catch this film, Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, who we followed for years. You turned me on to him way back in the Mr. Show days.
Right. And I knew him before that. I told you recently I met him.
Yeah.
While after Mr. Show had wrapped, they did I forget, I think they called it Mr. Show Around America.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him in Carlsbad or Oceanside, California. They did a live, for people who don't know, Mr. Show's a sketch comedy show. They did a live showing of it in Oceanside. And as I was walking in, he came walking. I think somebody was late and he was in a panic. And I went up and he shook my hand. He was a really nice guy. And I had been following him for, since Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Which is where he started, which first out of the gate, I'm holding it up right now, the Ben Stiller show. Right. Typical of Fox, they canceled the show. And after it was canceled, it won Best TV show, Best Comedy Show, Emmy.
Yeah.
So
he also wrote for SNL. He was there for about 4 years.
Yep.
And then most
wrote
recently,
specifically for Chris Farley.
Yeah, right. Well, he created the Matt Foley motivational speaker character.
Yeah, you may have mentioned that before.
Yeah. And then most recently, people would know him from Breaking Bad and, of course, Better Call Saul.
Yeah, Better Call Saul is,
And a guy that you wouldn't, which is part of this whole thing, is a guy that you wouldn't peg to be in a movie like this, which is it's essentially an action movie.
Yeah, I had said to you a while ago, before I even knew about this movie, it was probably after a Better Call Saul show. I had said, all this time we thought Odenkirk was into comedy when he's really a dramatic acting star.
Actor. Right, right.
So,
and I forgot to mention at the top too, we got so wrapped up. Well, you had to call the interruption from Chapek.
Well,
so
I
that threw us off.
That. Yeah.
But as we do at the top of every show, got to say, for those of you who aren't currently following us, make sure that you do. The easiest way to find all things Oh Brother is to go out to our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. It's ohbpodcast.com. And you get access to all our social media. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch our videos and like our videos out there. We've got a blog. We've got film reviews out on the website too. So make sure you check us out there. So this got us out of the house and to the theaters, which, we've been having a lot of conversations about that over the last year. And I almost went about a week or so ago. And I was actually going to dip in and see this film. And I opted not to at that particular time. And it was kind of late in the day. And I just, wanted to get on about my day. But this was another one kind of like Fat Man, where I believe, or was it reversed? I thought, didn't I see this trailer and mention it to you or send it to you by YouTube and said, hey, you got to check this out. Odenkirk. And so we gotta do this when it comes out, do an episode on this when it comes
I
out. I
don't
feel like
yeah, I don't
I don't
remember
remember.
the original conversation. I know we had been waiting on it. It had been
Yeah,
delayed.
right.
And then finally they said, what the heck? It's been the number one movie for a couple of weeks. And but I still, still think it would have made more money.
Yeah.
No, there's still not a lot of people venturing out yet.
Well, it's almost broke even. I mean, it's about a $16 million budget. It's made at least almost 12, I think, at this point.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's got pretty good reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It's definitely fresh for both critics and the audience.
Yeah.
It's, I think, 81 and 95, so it's pretty high. And
81 being
the critics,
hmm,
95 on the audience side. Now, director is Ilya Naishuller. I'm not sure how to
mhm.
say his last name. And then Derek Kolstad, who wrote John Wick 3. No
Oh,
surprise, again,
interesting.
given, now Odenkirk trained for, he said, over 2.5 years before this ever saw filming.
Really?
Yeah. And he was at this place, I think it's 8711 or 1811. It's a production company, but also like a stunt gym where all the top trainers train stunt performers, actors,
You
and
know,
Navy SEALs, like the best of the best.
what's good though is he doesn't look like he's been training like this. He doesn't look like John Wick or like Keanu Reeves or he doesn't look like a stunt guy or
Right.
he looks like a dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And he mentioned that he was in there training alongside Keanu, for example, was there training for John Wick 4.
Wow.
And so, yeah, same facility, very hardcore, and you see it displayed in various scenes throughout the movie. So give us a synopsis of the film, then we can kind of talk about our take on it.
Okay,
Spoiler free, of course.
the movie starts out where we're kind of introduced to the character in a different kind of way. And it's basically the story of this guy who's working for, I don't know, like a shipping receiving company, or at least that's his job.
Mm-hmm.
And he's working for his father-in-law and his what the relation with brother-in-law. And he basically, his kind of dream is to buy them out, have a company for the family, make it into a family business for his family, get rid of her family. um he's kind of in a stagnant kind of relationship. It shows like a typical week, which is
Right.
pretty
It's like a
blasé.
Groundhog Day opening.
Exactly. Monday, Tuesday. So it
Same
goes
thing.
through that. And then somebody breaks into his house,
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning of the movie. And he makes a decision to kind of stand down, I guess would be the term. And to, tells his son, hey, because his son has one of them in a headlock when they break in. And Odenkirk's character could clearly hit the other character with a golf club, but he doesn't. He says, just, let him go. You can leave now. Take whatever you want. Leave us alone. And he gets teased about it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads to kind of an alternate life that he used to live that we then find out about who nobody is.
Yeah, working for the FBI.
Yeah.
Odenkirk was on the Howard Stern show this week.
Did you listen to that?
Yeah, I haven't listened to the entire interview, but most of it. And he talked about, like, the original idea for this film was his, although
Mm-hmm.
again it was written by Kolstad. But um, it was, some of it, the germ of the idea was based upon some home invasions he and his own family in real life experienced out in LA. and his home was broken into more than once. And the way it played out was very much like it plays out in the opening scene you just described. He
Right.
opted not to engage, and he doesn't go into a lot of detail because it's, a very personal story, and it was traumatic for the family. So, but he says that, it leaves you with this sense of, could I have done more? What else could I have done? And,
Especially when you get the
as the,
neighbor comes over right after it happens, and
yeah,
hey, I wish they did to my house.
yeah,
I would have messed those suckers up,
I could have used the workout,
Yeah,
whatever
exactly.
he says.
That
Yeah.
joker.
So, as you said, it then gets revealed this sort of other life that he used to live becomes apparent, and and then he sort of sets out to maybe make some of these wrongs right, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to get into your take. First of all, I was curious to talk about the experience of just going to the theater. First of all,
Well, that was not good.
yeah,
My
because
theater,
you were super. I told you about my experience. I saw it before you.
right,
And I
right,
said, hey, there was nobody there was two people in this big theater,
right.
nobody around, it was a great experience in that respect. It was dead.
Yeah, and for me, and I really didn't want to go. I did, and I told you, I said I really don't want to go.
The things you
And
do for the O Brother podcast.
yeah, exactly. But there's only one showing a day, so I didn't have choice. I would have gone to a late show where I probably would have experienced what you did. But since there was only one showing a day, it was a little more crowded for me.
Yeah.
Um, and you went to AMC?
Yeah. Was it similar in that I said where you purchase a ticket and then it sort of nullifies the seats beside you for sale?
No,
Okay. Don't tell me you were sitting elbow to elbow with anybody, because that's just not reality.
directly in front of me.
Yeah.
Well, this is and it wasn't the COVID thing, by the way, that made this such a
It
unpleasant.
was the OCD.
Yeah, and what happened first was I walked in and there was nothing as far as I could see. There were people that were plunked right in the middle, all in a ball in the center of the theater. And there was no special it said as you were walking in, wear a mask at all times. And then you sit down, and before the movie starts, it says, we follow COVID guidelines, wear a mask at all times unless you're eating or drinking.
Right.
Then
Which
hell,
people are doing for 90 minutes of the film.
Exactly. So it's like, why even have the rules? So I came in, everybody's munching on popcorn, and nobody has a mask on except me. But that wasn't the unpleasant part. I sit down in my seat. Okay, 10 minutes into the movie. Okay, the movie's already running, not the previews, not what's coming. 10 minutes into the movie, a young couple with, I'd say, an 8-month-old
Nice.
come right in front of me.
Nice.
Literally, the baby is right in front of me. And so I'm sitting there for a couple of minutes. I'm like, I can't do this because the baby's gurgling and whatnot. So I have to get up and act like I got to go refill my drink. And I moved to the other side of the theater. That baby cried through the whole movie.
The old bait and switch.
Yeah. So
well, that's interesting.
That's what made it unpleasant.
It's interesting because I cried through a lot of this movie as well.
And why do you say that?
Well, I just look, it was fun to see Odenkirk in this type of role, and displaying the skills and things that he learned through all this training that he did for over 2.5 years. But without giving spoilers, it was just over the top. It got so gratuitous that I thought, this felt very much to me. And I even get that impression from this interview that I've been listening to with him on Stern. It felt very much like a story written around a guy that wanted to be in a film like this to train like John Wick. That's what it's at. And Christopher Lloyd is in this, who plays his father. And just some of the scenes they have these guys engaged in towards the middle and latter part of the film are just silly. It's just silly. And I get what the film is. It's like when we did Godzilla and Kong. It's like I go in knowing,
Right.
I'm open to what, but I thought it was going to be grounded in a little bit more reality than it was. And I just left feeling like, okay, it was entertaining, but even for me, who I'm so desensitized over the years to any sort of form of violence on screen or whatever,
Yeah.
it was just over the top, and I thought it was
Yeah.
unnecessary. So to me, it fell flat. I'll be honest, my expectations were a lot higher than what
You
it
know,
delivered for me.
yeah. And I'm going the other way. I liked it.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Why? Do you think it's my Bob Odenkirk bias?
That could be. I didn't think about it too deeply. I sort of just tried to say, talking to my girlfriend about who went with me, and we were talking about this
Yeah.
because part of it was the conversation, trying to get you to go to the film in the first place.
Right. I figured you liked it a lot. That's
Right.
why you were pushing me to go.
I knew, I played it off pretty well when I was
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.
No, you should go. Go check it out. But it was more just because we could do an episode on it.
Yeah.
And but
I get what you're saying. I totally
Yeah.
get what you're saying.
Right.
But I thought there was some moments that were right because and this really isn't a spoiler because the trailer has a lot of the bus sequence in it. And
Right.
so anyone who's seen the trailer or is going to go to see Nobody has seen a section where he's on a bus
Sure.
and he says, I want to F you guys up or whatever. Right. And it was corny with the guy, letting the bullets.
I mean, he's grinning like he wants this to happen.
Right. But it wasn't like he just, like in the trailer, it looks like he just tears through the guys, but he doesn't. He takes a pretty damn good beating. Yeah, of course.
But if you think of again, won't go into the details, but if you think of how that scene came to be, like the events that led up to that moment, just prior to that, are so goofy and silly that would put the guys that he engages with, the events that lead up to that, that basically put them in that position on the bus, I just thought was a little, there's a lot of things like that. There's a lot of things like that.
Here's what's interesting for me. The parts that they purposely tried to make funny weren't funny. Like the jokes that they wrote for the movie fell totally flat and were totally stale. What I
you say there were jokes? There were jokes?
There were jokes, yeah.
There were jokes.
Believe it or not, there was some jokes in there. And they weren't funny. And I agree, they weren't funny. What I laughed at, and trust me, I'm dealing with a crying baby, so I have to, for me to enjoy this, that says something.
Baby was trying to give you a heads up.
Yeah, the baby was like,
yeah, you're not gonna like this film.
That sounded like a cat.
That didn't even come out. That didn't even come out.
So
no one's gonna hear that.
What made me laugh was when they went ridiculous, over the top. Like I busted out laughing. Like
to me that was
I never laugh out loud.
That was 85-90% of the film to me.
It's extremely violent, yes. But I think and yeah, this would never happen. This is an impossibility. The numbers.
I mean, it's Doc Brown.
I know.
Is this how he wants to sort of play out his legacy?
Actually, I didn't have a problem with.
Oh my God.
I was happy to see him. I was happy to see him.
Well, okay, but still.
My favorite line of the film was, and I'm only going to say half of it. At one point, Odenkirk says to Christopher Lloyd, "Hey, Dad, you sure brought a lot of shotguns." And that's all I'll say. That line I thought was funny. That was the only joke line that worked.
Yeah,
for me.
again, I just feel like they could have rooted this more in reality. It
They could
easily
have.
could have written this more as a serious dramatic piece about a guy who, I mean, it just doesn't have to go all Death Wish 5 on us.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary.
And
And that even that bus scene, I've seen that scene before many times in many movies. And one of them's in my collection, which is Stallone's The Specialist. For anybody who hasn't seen it, go watch The Specialist with Sylvester Stallone. You'll see the exact same scene in that movie.
insane, Death Wish, yeah. The difference is we're dealing with a specially trained guy who, I don't know what these guys can do in reality. Like it's the same as John Wick. I mean, it's funny because you like the John Wick movies. This really
Yeah,
isn't any different.
yeah, I don't love all of them, but yeah, I think they're well, I mean, I have issues with some of those too. But John Wick 1, the original John Wick,
Hmm.
it's a far superior film than this.
I agree it's better, but I think it's the same premise ultimately. Only
Well,
it's a
yeah,
more realistic view of the person
right.
that has these specific set of skills, which I don't even know what movie that's from.
Taken
That's right.
with
Thank you.
Liam
See,
Neeson. Yeah,
I hear the dialogue going off in my head,
right. I
and
will
I'm
find
like, I
you
don't
and I
get
will
it.
kill you.
Yes.
Yeah,
And that's what it is. It's
yeah.
that movie. And that's probably a better analogy than John Wick because no, yeah, because Taken, he's a former guy that has these skills and he's
Mhm.
retired
Right.
and that's basically the same character. So yeah, I'm with you with we've seen this before. Um but it entertained me. I walked out saying, yeah, that was okay. I
Ye-
enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't entertaining. Like I said at the beginning, it was entertaining, but that's about it. But again, my expectations were higher. I was looking for more. I thought it was going to be more dramatic than it was, and it ended up being very um, just
In
over the
this
top. It was gratuitous violence to the point where
and it's
like
a
I didn't need
shame,
that. They could have made the same point with some of those scenes without taking it to that extreme.
right.
You
And it's
know?
a shame because we know he has the chops to do
Yeah,
drama.
which is why I kind of expected it. You know,
Yeah.
and
And
I
I
think
can
from the early look at the trailer
mhm.
and the poster, it just didn't. I had no idea. I could have honestly done without Christopher Lloyd's character entirely. It didn't even need to be. That didn't even need to be in it. If you think back to it,
Mhm.
it, it,
No,
it
I
served.
agree.
It really served no purpose in moving this story forward. It really didn't.
Well,
Not in
other than
not in a way like they could have done it in several other ways in the
they
writing.
could have done it other ways, but he did serve a purpose. It gave us a little bit of the background of how he got this mentality.
Not much.
Nah,
Not much. Hey, son, I remember who you used to be, blah, blah. That
yeah,
was
but
like all we got.
we find out that the dad was a former FBI agent and likely passed that
That that
passion on
that
to his
must yeah, it
sons.
must have been in a post credit scene.
Yeah, you didn't see the picture of the three of them together, when he went and got his dad's FBI badge.
I was probably mid yawn at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah, when he went
Um,
into the closet at the
you know
apartment
what's
and
really interesting is when we were having a conversation before we decided to do the movie, I was the one I said to you, I just hope it isn't too ridiculous. And I said that to you from the bus
yeah,
scene. I said, I see the bus scene. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be too over the top for me.
yeah,
And we come out on the different side. That's pretty
yeah. It is
interesting.
interesting. I didn't expect you to be as favorable of the film as it sounds like you are.
Yeah. And I'm not being unrealistic. All your arguments I'm
Yeah,
buying.
right.
But
But you were entertained by it.
yeah, but I
So
was
would you
entertained by it.
recommend someone going to the theater to see
It
this
depends
film?
on It depends on who it is. Would I recommend mom go see it? No. If dad were alive, Dad, I'm buying this for you because he's going to love every
Well,
minute of
no,
it.
my question is, would you recommend someone go out to the theater to see this film?
No, no.
Okay.
That I would not recommend.
Yeah.
And, there's more to just the crying baby than, no, I think I would wait
Yeah.
for a video rental.
Right.
But I still, and again, I don't know. I kept asking myself, am I letting my Odenkirk? Because I really like Bob Odenkirk. I really
Could
do.
could be a little bit of bias there,
Yeah.
possibly. You
And
know,
of course, I like, you know, I mean, who doesn't like Back to
Christopher
the
Lloyd.
Future?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Now, what do you think the likelihood is this turns into, a
I
John
hope
Wick
not.
trilogy?
I hope not.
I think it will, because I think Bob Odenkirk, first of all, he trained for so long
Yeah.
and he's maintained that, and he's very into it. He said he really enjoys the fighting and that aspect. Like, he was really pumped up about it. So I can see them easily, especially, look, it's on track to make a little bit of money, it looks like.
Well, and if you think back to the ending kind of suggests, winks at the camera
Right.
and says, "Hey, get ready for part 2." So
Yeah.
you're probably right. If it makes money, and they'll have a chance for a wider release because hopefully we'll be past this whole thing.
Well, and he's wrapping up Saul. That
That's
that'll
right.
that'll
So
be
he'll be
done.
looking for a project, and it was his production company was one of the companies that released the movie. So
Yeah,
like
and they filmed it
Odenkirk Productions.
mostly in Winnipeg, I believe, is where it was filmed.
Is that where it was?
Yeah, which it did look bitter cold up there, that's for sure.
It did because you could see his breath and stuff
Yeah,
when he was outside. When we
right,
were showing that routine, he missed the trash every week. You missed the
right.
trash, and he's running out like Homer Simpson. Hey, I got
Yeah, the
trash.
the opening, honestly, that was probably my favorite bit of the whole film, the way they cut together this very quick montage of these jump cuts that were showing his monotonous routine day to day to day. And
Yes.
that was pretty cool,
Yeah.
but once it jumped off into the action, I was like, okay. Like, the bus scene, it was okay. It was pretty cool. And, but again, I didn't really feel like it was anything I hadn't seen already before,
Yeah.
in
No,
other
there isn't.
films.
There's nothing new here. I mean, I enjoy the John Wick films.
Yeah.
I don't for a second believe there's somebody that can take on 100 guys and come out on top. But I for the entertainment factor, I buy in some.
I don't know, Bruce Lee, some of these martial artists, because we're going to talk about that, but probably off air. But I think our next episode, we're going to do a film swap. We haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
So now, for those that may not be familiar, film swap, I choose a film that you've never seen for you to watch, and then vice versa. And so I have one for you to watch that might change your view on that, what you just said. So we'll see. We'll see.
Are
So
you purposely going to give me a bad movie?
no, 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 no.
Oh,
I'm not saying that. I'm not going to comment whether, I mean, that's going to be for you to decide. That's the whole point of the film swap.
right. But I
It's,
purposely pick out a movie that is good that I want to turn you on to.
but I might think it's terrible. Just like I did, for Border Incident was the film I chose for you, and
Yeah.
you didn't really care for it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm looking back on that, um, and I liked it more than I thought at the
Oh yeah,
time. I've
okay.
watched it again since.
Did you? Oh, that's
Yeah, and
interesting.
the reason why is the director.
Yeah,
I had seen a few other films from the director that
right.
I liked.
Great
I
style.
yeah, and I said I want to go back to that. And what I didn't like about it was there was some corniness in the, like the way the guy followed him and he was like 2 feet, 2 inches away from him,
Yeah,
following him across the border.
yeah. There was
Yeah,
some silly things.
those were the things that bothered me.
Right.
But some of the things he did with the shadowing in the movie, I did like.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's interesting you bring that up
it was no more
because,
no more silly than this film Nobody. So look,
yeah,
Love Bob Odenkirk. You know, he does a decent job in this film pulling off the action. You know, it's not that I don't sort of buy him. Oh, there's a nice set.
At least turn people on.
Yeah, that's a
Mr.
great set.
Show.
Now, you know, he and David Cross are working together right now. They're writing some project. Season? I don't know about Mr. Show, but it's a new project. I don't know what it's going to be.
Did you ever see they revived it for Netflix?
No, I don't think so. But it
just didn't have the same.
But I had that box that you're holding up.
Yeah, this is seasons 1 and 2. Behind me are seasons 3 and 4. And HBO really screwed them around. They put it on Monday night at midnight. That was bad. The only time you could see the show.
Now, is that how long it ran? It was 4 seasons?
4 seasons.
I see you've got Chris Farley, the best of over there too.
Yeah, Chris Farley, because he wrote for Chris Farley. The spectacular
Larry Sanders show
that he wrote for and then became a character in.
One of the best.
The tub next to Chris Farley is Breaking Bad.
Oh yeah, sure. Yep.
It's in one of the, where how he hid the money.
Yes.
And then of course Better Call Saul with the other Mr. Schiss.
That's nice.
I wanted to point that out, so because sometimes we don't point out what's behind us.
Yeah.
And usually whatever we're talking about, for people who watch, if you look behind me, I'm constantly changing up.
Yeah. Well, and we have to leave that to you because I've gone so far to the digital side. It's limited in what I can put out. So what I've got is pretty much my top 5 films for the most part. Braveheart, Godfather, all that sort of stuff. So, all right. Stuff. Well, any final comments on this film, Nobody, with Bob Odenkirk?
Like I said, I liked it. I recommend it to a certain audience.
Yes. If you like the Taken films, if you like John Wick, if you like the Atomic Blonde, those kind of films, you'll probably dig this film. You probably did this film, but it brings nothing new. It's definitely gratuitous. It's over the top, all those things. And you could argue so are those other films, but I don't know. So I'm not necessarily. If you want to rent it or something, maybe, but definitely don't go spend your hard-earned money going to the theater to watch this film.
Yeah, and our split is, I think, the perfect split. Is, like you said, if you like those other films, you're gonna like this one. If you didn't like those films, stay away from this one. Although one thing we do agree on is don't go to the theater and spend a lot of money. This one's better left for not theater at home, but wait till it's on Amazon or it's on Netflix or whatever.
Better Call Saul. It's amazing given the theater experience that you still came out. Like I thought that would have been so distracting for you that you would. So that's probably more surprising to me than your like of this film.
It is. I mean, I had to literally put up with that aggravation, which it was aggravating. And there's nothing in my theater.
Right. Well, that's pretty typical.
Was that it? There was no differences, no signage.
Not really.
All the employees wore face masks.
Although I mean, it was so dead. And as I said, the theater that we were in, there was only 2 people in the whole theater. Couldn't even see them. They were way up above, So for me, it was a very enjoyable experience. It was comfortable, the whole thing. So I was impressed. I thought they did a good job because I had I was a little hesitant about it, but it worked out pretty well. So it was nice. I will admit, it was definitely cool to be back inside a movie theater. There's no question. Just to experience that again was pretty cool. So, but the most exciting thing that's been revealed in this whole episode came as a result of your phone call with Mr. Chapek, which is the fact that you're now in full support of Disney Plus Premier Access. And I think, that's a good way to leave this episode, is the fact that you were wrong all this time. And, others were perhaps a bit more right than you were.
$30 is reasonable to sit at home and watch your favorite movie.
In fact, I'm going to go watch Mulan again after this.
Well, it's free now, so I don't.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Raya.
And I'm not going to watch Raya because I don't like it. So.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, that's going to do it for another episode of the Yo Brother podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Don't come back to the movie. Bye, everyone.
I love a crying baby.
Nothing like it.